The first project that I sold for this one company, I sold it for $1,000 and it was like a 1-minute animation. Then the same client came back to me and wanted more work, and I was like, well, it's gonna be a lot more expensive. I just remember even debating behind the scenes, like $750 or $1,000. Like, I don't know if they're gonna sign. And I knew I did something wrong when I sent them the email for $1,000 and they immediately, like within 5 minutes, sent it back signed.
Yeah, I want to say this for the future Jake out there in the world, that if you're talented and you're doing this and you're not quite sure, don't call your cousin, don't call your friend in your town. Call me. I will tell you how much you charge. I'll tell you the market rate, and you can adjust based on that.
I'm a 3D artist, and as my social media started taking off, I switched over to doing social media full time, sitting at around 10 million on YouTube and 11 million on TikTok.
Wow, this is freaking incredible. So look at this. It's not an anomaly because he has multiple videos. I don't even know how far I have to scroll down that have millions or 100 million plus views. It's a lot of work to actually to create content on a consistent basis. So you're now fully part of this whole creator economy. You no longer have a boss. You're self-directed. You're an artist. And hats off to you. Do you mind me asking how old you are?
Yeah, I just turned 24. Last week. Yeah.
It hurts me a little bit. I could be old enough to be your father.
So basically, I started freelancing the summer after my junior year in college. And then I was so passionate about doing the work too, the freelance stuff, that it never really bugged me too much, like spending a couple extra hours every day, like at my computer. And it's not like I was a full-time freelancer, right? So there's balance there. And all my clients were well aware that I was a student too. So I just continued working with people, sort of juggling my schoolwork and my clients, and then by the time I was ready to graduate, I already had several people who were like on my line ready to go with work. And so I did that for 8 months or so. And there was all that COVID stuff going on too. So it's like all my school went online. So I was like equally spending time doing freelance, and to the point where I was just ready to do full-time freelance by the time I graduated. So
you studied marketing, and that seems quite different than what you're doing. Is this something that you taught yourself to do?
Yes, I'm completely self-taught in the 3D world. The story is actually kind of funny. At the end of my junior year, I was trying so hard to get a marketing internship. And for the longest time, I thought that I was going to be working at a clothing company. And I had plenty of interviews with I actually went out to the Abercrombie headquarters to interview for stuff, and like Tommy Hilfiger, and there was like all these brands that I really liked, and I just kept getting rejected from them. And so what ended up happening that summer is that I landed actually one big client that it ended up pushing me beyond my comfort level, to the point where it's like all of a sudden it's like, okay, I promised this deliverable and I need to like get this stuff out the door as professional quality. Funnily enough, that's the time period when I discovered the Futur and all of your work, Chris, because it's like I was all of a sudden looking for mentors and like, how do I sign a contract, or what do I value my brand at? Like, is this worth $1,000? Is this worth $10,000? Like, what do I price this stuff at? And so this is the time period when I was like turned on to your stuff, and I like really listened to your podcast like every single day during this time period, like just trying to learn about contracts and stuff. So the first project that I sold for this one company, I sold it for $1,000 and it was like a 1-minute animation, 3D animation, which is like drastically undersold myself, and it was like took me a whole month to do. And so and then I turned around, and the next month I was like, all right, I need to figure out like how I can make this sustainable. On one side of the coin, it's like when they signed that contract, I was like called my mom and dad, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm making $1,000 for my artwork, and then I was like, wait a second, that's actually not that good of a deal if I'm working on this for a whole month. I just remember even debating behind the scenes, like $750 or $1,000. Like, I don't know if they're gonna sign. And I knew I did something wrong when I sent them the email for $1,000 and they immediately, like within 5 minutes, sent it back signed. And I was like, okay, that was pretty quick. Like, they didn't think about that.
So when you got $25,000 and they signed that, what did you spend the money on? Tell me the first couple of things you bought for yourself with this money in your pocket.
I didn't buy anything at all.
Really?
Nothing, not a single thing. I didn't buy a new watch or a new pair of shoes.
New monitor, new computer, new video card?
Nothing.
Really?
I did not buy a single thing, because I was like, now all of a sudden it became my stipend. Because when I decided like, okay, this is going to be my thing, this is like my lifeblood that's going to allow me to not get a job at a marketing thing. So I was like, this is when I have to pay my rent next when I graduate. Because I didn't, at that point too, you don't know, is this a fluke? Like, did I get over my head? Am I going to be able to deliver on this stuff? And like, is anybody ever going to pay me $25,000 again?
So if people are listening to this, I just want to be clear about a couple of different things. Don't fall into the trap of what many professional athletes and hip hop artists do, which is they make some money and they spend it all. And then 5 years after they had their moment in time in the sun, dead broke, each and every single one of them, because they go out and buy jewelry, they buy cars, they buy things they can't afford, they pay for their entourage. it's a foolish way to spend your money. What does being rich mean to you?
It's funny because I'm not a collector of cars. I don't have a nice apartment, and I don't really necessarily have aspirations to own like a iced out Rolex. For me, rich is like being able to travel without worrying about my work, and so there's a whole plethora of things that would have to happen along the lines for that to happen. But also in a lot of ways, like I feel like I'm rich already with my following online. It's a wealth in and of itself, and so yeah, it's not always necessarily monetary payoff that I'm looking for, and yeah, maybe that's why I haven't been driven by money in the first place.